DCS Crew, welcome back. What is up? Man, we're here today to go ahead and check out, I guess, the formal review. Now that I've, had it and used it a little bit and I'm now giving it away, it's only fair that I give it its fair share of pros, cons, and just overall a nice look at a knife that I feel is one of the main flagships of Kansept knives. Now, Kansept is a Kim Ning company. Kim Ning is formerly of Kaiser. There are a couple other people that came from Kaiser, but in any case, he's the main designer for a lot of the knives, not all of them, and I'll, probably explain that in the video, but for this particular one, he is, and this is the Sprite. Okay, now there are different variants of this. This is the version with titanium handles and marbled carbon fiber inlays with an S35vn blade. This is part of their 2020 lineup, but it is also the knife I'm giving away for the 2021 Kansept Katalog video giveaway. So if you haven't seen that just yet, go ahead and check out this link that I'm going to put up there. It does end on March 22nd, 2021. So if you see this video after then, apologies, but it has already been given away. So that being said, we've got a bit to talk about this knife and some other knives that I have around for just general dimensions and how I actually get this knife confused a lot with the Spirit. But more on that, so stay tuned. Hey guys, what's up? Thank you so much for tuning in. This is my review of the Kansept Sprite from Kansept Knives. Now, there is a smaller version of this. This is the larger version of the two. If you want to get the smaller version, which is basically a 4-inch handle and a 3-inch blade, go ahead and check out the Gremlin. I think that's going to be one that I really do want to go ahead and check out. Personally, I like the action on this one. It is excellent. And you have a nice thwack. I lent this to my buddy over at Tier 1 Gear Reviews, and Justin freaking loved it. Let me go ahead and give him a little shout out there. And he thought the action was ridiculously good, and I agree with him. That is definitely a pro. Speaking of pro, there are a couple of things that I want to talk about of the knife, but aside from that, let's go ahead and show the specs right quick. And before I get to the pros, let's go ahead and do a comparison check with some other knives I have here that are relatively fresh. You may not have seen them, you may have before, but let's start. We'll start off with the Carlos Elsner design from Kaiser. This is the Jungus. And this is the, well, you should know about this one. This is the Bare Knuckle from Kershaw, USA made. Another USA made knife from Elishewitz over from Hogue. This is the Deca in 20 CV with an MXG gear deep carry clip. This one right here is from Todd Knife and Tool in their collaboration with Best Tech. I did a video on this recently. This is the Exploit, an awesome, awesome design. And what else we got here? We got another USA made knife here. This is, let's see here. This is the Kershaw Dividend. You already saw the Spirit earlier in the intro, I believe, but if not, there it is. And do we have anything else? Do we have anything else? Ah, here's two more. The CJRB Feldspar. This is the small version in D2 with Jade G10 handles. And last but not least, the CJRB Centros in D2 with the gray G10. Now, going into the pros. Pros, I have to tell you, there are a lot of little things in this knife that came from user feedback and just overall feedback from the company. Kansept just came off of their freshman year, and unfortunately, it was a pretty tough one because they started in 2020. Now, one thing that they do have several variants of this particular knife. So if you don't like this one, or if you feel that it's a little plain, that's perfectly fine. They do have other variants with really cool fat carbon inlays. This one in particular is just marbled carbon fiber inlays with a titanium slab on both sides. This is a frame lock. It is tapped for right hand deep carry only. You have a nice grind to the blade, and the swedge, everything about it is very clean and very nicely done. You have the skeletonized flipper tab, as you can see, which actually shows very, very nicely when presented that way. The clip, while it is one single screw, which kind of threw me off, it actually, it's embedded inside of the scale. So there is an indentation inside of the scale to where this kind of like kind of fits in perfectly, and then you put in the screw so it will not loosen up in time at all. It stays nice and firm inside of that little indentation that's bored into the titanium handles, which, by the way, what they've done for the back spacer is they've actually cut out a portion of the titanium handle, and they've introduced that titanium back spacer, and it is tapped for a lanyard. And as you can see, it is a nice size, so you can put, 550 paracord or something a little bit leaner if you want something a little bit more aesthetically pleasing and you want to go ahead and use a lanyard. Personally, I don't. So what they've done is they've tucked it away as such to where, number one, it doesn't mess with the pocket clip, and number two, it will not feel like a hotspot when you have it in your hand because of the fact that all of these edges have been smoothed out. And that's another attention to detail that I think that they carried over from the quality control processes over at Kaiser. Aside from that, they do have a very plain design. They had the element with the Kansept logo, the Kansept font. They'll usually put the actual variant of the model. I'll see if I can get that here. You can see it's K1103A1. That designates this particular version. And S35vn, which is heat treated and imported from here in the US. That's not a Chinese variant, it is actually S35vn. You have the maker's mark, which is Kim Ning, and then you have the name itself, which is Sprite. Now, things that I do not like about this particular knife. Well, there are really only, I'm gonna say 3 things, and 2 of them are really more things that I think that they could work on. And the third, well, it's really more by choice. Now, one thing that I think that they could work on, and I will give them a pass because this is their first year, is they were looking for the right font for their knife. This particular font, I mean, personally, for a knife of this caliber and even just this price, the font looked kind of cheap. It just looks very generic font that was actually being used, as you can see. And I wasn't really a big fan of that, but they did change this, okay? And I'll show you why. Number one, they took off the lettering for Kansept and they just left the logo on their more recent versions. This is the Cryo and D2 with micarta. And then they went ahead and they changed the font that's being used for the wording. And it looks a lot nicer now. So I will give that to them. So they did that one. They did get that right, okay? Another thing I did notice, and this is just a con because of the fact that they are only designating a certain demographic for their knives, and that's the right-handed people. There's no lefty love in a lot of their knives, and I say that because, I mean, look, for example, this is the Budget Cryo in D2 with micarta. Obviously, this is the Sprite. Where's the, let me see here, what else do I have? Ah, there we go. Here is the Little Main Street. Here's the Prickle, and where did I put the Spirit? Oh, here we go. And here's the Spirit. What do these all have in common? None of them are tapped for left-handed carry. Okay, I'll show you there, and I'll show you there. Not here. You obviously know that's not for left-handed. And then the micarta scale is obviously flat. Here, it's not tapped for left-handed carry. And that's a problem because of the fact that, there are people who are left-handed that really like these knives and really want to try them out. The fact is you can still work around that, especially if it's a frame lock. People have been using right-handed knives as lefties, I mean, for a very long time, but it'd be nice for a company to be able to go ahead and come out with something that's, ambidextrous or left-hand friendly or even a left-hand variant. The thing is, I will give them a pass because this was their first year. They were coming out with this knife and they really just wanted to go ahead and capitalize on, the market, knowing that they had the materials and they had the quality necessary to be able to go ahead and substantiate the cost for these knives. And I kind of feel like, okay, year one is done. We're going into 2021, and beyond. I think that you should now stop with, what the right quality is for your knives and start providing a left-handed option, or at least 1 or 2 options within the lineup that sell well and just, provide it as lefty friendly. Now, while I put the dimensions here, I do want to go ahead and talk about a second issue. And this is really more me. It's something that I prefer in my knives. I really like for them to have like a clip or a drop point. I'll take Tontos. I'll take a lot of different versions. I really, really love sheep's foot blades. And one thing that I really am not the biggest fan of is a blade with a steep recurve, okay? Now, and if you look at this blade, it does have recurve to it, okay? Now, it's not really bad. I mean, and there are knives with recurve that garner all the praise. Like, for example, the Kershaw Blur. This is not a Kershaw Blur, but it does have that recurve on there. So if you have, you know, a system like the KME and that sort of thing, you want to be able to get the rods necessary to be able to go ahead and tackle that. I do not have that, but I do have the Spyderco Triangle Sharp Maker. Now, what this does is it allows me to go ahead and sharpen the edge and take care of the bevels, but that's assuming that the bevels on these are even. And I'm not going to call out Kansept on this because I haven't checked it yet, but you know, as a rule of thumb, if you're going to get something like this from factory and you're going to pay this much for a knife, which I won't go into the price, you can check out the variants and you can go ahead and figure out which one it is for yourself, and then that price will be dictated by, you know, the materials you choose. You know, what I typically like to do with my knives, and I'm going to be doing that with a lot of other knives, I did it just like with this one, is I got it on my KME, and then I basically went with a 20-degree edge on each side. It's great for EDC, and I don't know what the bevels are on this side. I don't know how you know, one side could be 17, the other side could be 24. You know, it could be a big issue. I actually had that with my sheepdog, my mini sheepdog from Kaiser, and you can actually see that in the Wicked Edge video that I have from SHOT Show 2020. But one side was like 16 and the other side was 24. That's an 8-degree of separation. Literally 8 degrees of separation, to where it will affect how it cuts. So I can't tell you enough why I prefer drop point and, you know, clip point, those sort of blades that don't have a recurve or steep recurve. That's just something that I do not prefer. But there are people that love it, and if you have the means to be able to go ahead and you know, fix the bevels and get them nice and even. I'm not saying that these are uneven, but if you do have something that can test it and to be able to show that you can kind of like even out the bevels on both sides, you're gonna get a hell of a slicer, because you know, the knives that are released with this recurve, you know, even if it's just a small recurve, these things are very, very good slicers. And this particular knife, it fits great in the hand. It's something that you're going to want to use to cut with. Now, speaking of fit in the hand, if for whatever reason you do not feel that this is the right size for you, maybe it's a little bit too big, there is a knife that's slightly smaller, 4-inch handle, 3-inch blade, and that is the Gremlin. It's like the smaller brother, you know, of the Sprite, and I would really recommend that for you. I can't, you know, comment on the action, but I can tell you for this one, it is running on bearings, and guys, this action is fantastic. I love that skeletonized flipper. I love the feeling in the hand. And one other thing that I didn't mention on the Pro portion is with this frame lock, they have designed everything with the clip and everything to where even if you provide a lot of pressure when flicking this open, okay, maybe you overly, rely on, for the flipper portion, you apply a lot of pressure to the lock bar. Let's say I'm doing on this side. I'm going to just show it like this. I'm putting a lot of pressure. Look, a lot of pressure here. It flicks out with no problem whatsoever. And the action is just fantastic. I mean, it's not buttery smooth because of the fact that I have carried this, and so it's still got a little bit of lint inside. But once I take this apart, clean it, and get it ready for the next person, the guy or gal that is going to win this, they are really going to enjoy the action on this. My buddy Justin over at Tier 1 actually asked me to go ahead and check it out. I sent it over to him because he had the Gremlin and he wanted to check this out, and he was floored. He freaking loved this knife. He actually has my Pelican right now, and he's gonna send it back because I missed that one like crazy. But this is one that I got a feeling I will also miss a lot once it leaves my collection and it goes to the winner of the Kansept Catalog contest. And that, my friends, is the end of this particular video. I hope you found it educational. I do recommend you check out Kansept knives. They're good and they're only getting better. They've been around for a little bit over a year. 2021 is going to be their sophomore year. They're coming out with a bang. They've got a really, really nice setup of knives that are en route. You know, COVID-19 really killed the plans for a lot of companies, and it sent a lot of the knife designs back a bit. So they have quite a few that they're going to go ahead and provide, you know, not only for reviewers to go ahead and check out, but for people, not only in the upper class materials like this titanium and S35vn, but they're going to come out with more super steels like 20CV, as well as prototypes and budget versions of a lot of their models, like this budget version of the Cryo in D2 and 9CR18 MOV prototypes, that if you are part of the Kansept Facebook group and speak with them and provide your feedback, you actually may get chosen to go ahead and check out some of their prototypes. So keep that in mind. Go ahead and check out their Facebook. You know, hopefully you guys are already part of the contest for the Kansept Katalog 2021, where I'm giving away this knife. And if you are the winner, congratulations, this is your knife. So yeah, that said, that's basically all that I have for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any additional questions on this particular knife and you want to go ahead and ask me, feel free to go ahead and do so by commenting below or by reaching me at dailycarrysolutions@gmail.com. Or you can go ahead and check out my Instagram. It's at dailycarrysolutions. It's pretty easy to go ahead and figure that out, right? All right, well, that said, huge thanks to Kansept for allowing us to go ahead and check out these knives. They've actually done extremely well this year and, well, last year, and I really wish them well in 2021. Hopefully you guys get to check out a variant like this one with the titanium scales and the carbon fiber inlays. And guys, just remember, whether it's the Pelican, whether it's the Sprite, whether it's the Spirit, you know, or even the Prickle, which by the way is an awesome knife, just remember, if you EDC, think of DCS. You guys have been great. I'm Carlos, and I'll see you later. Peace.